Real talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Humans Talking podcast. I am FRENO, joined by Brylon. What's up, man? What you got going on in your life?
Not much, man. Just wheeling and dealing.
Yeah. We've had quite an eventful week, I'll say that much.
Yeah, it's been a snowstorm down here in Austin. I actually made it out pretty good this year. Didn't lose power, didn't do anything, and actually cooked some really nice meals for myself and my partner, and everyone else lost power and
You know,
had trees fall on their house.
I will say, because I used to live in Austin, that is one thing I will not miss about Austin is the power outages and whatnot. Because I know Austin is completely overcrowded, so there's so many people sucking up the electricity. I mean, it's just bound to happen.
Yeah, well, apparently this time it was mostly the trees because we had so many people that don't trim their trees that because of the weight of the ice, a lot of branches were falling over and knocking over the power lines. Um, that's the big issue now because Austin Electric, their job is to fix the electricity, but if it's a tree branch that's now knocked it over. They can fix electricity, but they can't move the tree branch. So there's just like branches littered all over the neighborhoods,
You know,
blocking in cars, and some places still don't have power back yet.
yeah, if people would just listen and do just minor maintenance, but no one ever will, because that's just how we do things here. It's the same when they have the pipes burst a lot, and they tell people like frequently, like, "Hey, leave your water running so the pipes don't burst," and no one does. The pipes burst, and everyone's like, "Oh, we don't have water now," and it's just like, "Yeah, we know, we told you."
Yeah,
It's like no people always want to complain after the fact, and it's like we kept telling y'all how to like prevent this, and y'all don't listen. Now y'all freak out when stuff goes down.
yeah,
Oh, that's just the nature of people, I guess.
yeah. So I guess everyone else, we have a couple of friends like that. I was just catching up. I've been busy with other stuff, but I guess they're in a different town. They had to go up north to the DFW area because they still don't have electricity or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, and yeah, I got a couple of friends that actually don't live too far away from me. We do Pathfinder D&D nights, and they still don't have electricity right now, like this South Austin. So
Yeah, I don't miss that. I mean, I eventually want to move somewhat closer to Austin at some point in the future, but yeah, not tight with the whole power outages and whatnot. Luckily, where I'm at now, we have had zero issues, but I guess because I'm in a smaller town now, but
yeah,
it's pretty nice out here when it comes to weather and whatnot. Just nothing really crazy happens. We did get ice for a bit though, but we just stayed inside for like 3 days.
yeah. I got to stay home from work. I still had to work, but it was pretty nice. Stayed home and I was like, this is awesome, heaven right now. I don't have to go anywhere.
Yep, that's how jobs should be. But
Yeah,
we've already had that argument. It's like, no, you got to come to the office. It's like, what if there's an emergency or there's ice or, something? We
yeah,
are completely able to work from home without any issues and still get your work done.
yeah. I don't know. It was a weird week for sure, but
Yeah.
luckily everything's starting to calm down. I I don't know if we're gonna start getting regular ice freezing, apocalypse temperatures down here. I might want to get out of here myself. We'll see.
Well, just bad weather in general is just going to get worse because of global warming. Like every year is going to get more intense. So it's just
Yeah,
something
with the
to prepare
extreme,
for going forward. Like
yeah, extreme
everybody, not just
sides.
us.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I I don't know. Maybe moving closer to like the middle of the country, which I don't really want to do. Maybe
Right?
that'll temper the weather, get close to the equator. Who knows?
Yeah. I kind of like where I'm at. It just has its typical stupid problems like anywhere else you live, but
Hmm.
Ah, whatever. But on to the news of the week. I know the past couple weeks have been not a lot's been going on, just a few things, not too much. But this past week we got some big bangers come out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll do the big one first. Your boy James Gunn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just because you and I had discussed this before in previous podcasts. Like, man, when are they gonna release something? And it's like, all right, maybe end of the month, beginning of February, and then it finally happened. James Gunn finally released a video. It's like a 6 minute video, and he pretty much explained the entire DC roadmap going forward for the DC, universe and whatnot. Did you get a chance to check that out?
I I did.
So
Very interesting.
yeah, it's so I'll start off, but the first part of the video, he kind of explains how the DC movies are going right now, the ones that we are currently in the middle of watching, because as we know, they're going to stop with all of these characters they're doing now, and they're going to reboot with the whole Flashpoint storyline.
Hmm.
So, like the first thing he addressed was basically, all right, so we got the Matt Reeves Batman, we've got the Todd Phillips Joker movie, Teen Titans Go, pretty much all the random DC movies we have now, which is a really smart move. He's like, we're going to consider them DC Elseworlds.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's so simple. That's such a simple explanation. And Elseworlds being like the alternate stories or the alternate timelines that are not canon. So it's the equivalent to Marvel's What If. It's just like, hey, here's a story. It's not canon, but here's what could happen. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is the easiest way to explain the current like lineup of DC movies. They're standalone, stories that aren't part of the overarching universe.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Um,
I think that in itself is really leading into the cadence or the idea that it's going to end in a Crisis on Infinite Earth situation. Because I think they could build their new Marvel DC cinematic universe and then do these Elseworld stories at the same time and then cross them over and be like, oh, look, there's Robert Pattinson's Batman with Ben Affleck. Wow.
They could. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle it going forward because it seems like the whole Elseworld what if concept, it seems like they're just applying it to these current four movies we have, which makes
That's just
sense because they're trying to just like, wrap it up, say, hey, these are the last four movies before we start like the real roadmap. Because
that seems
the current
brand
movies
like
like we have now, we've got oh my god, I just had this. We got Shazam Fear of the Gods coming out, and then after that it's going to tie into the Flash movie, which I was a little confused about because the Flash movie is where everything gets rebooted. But after the Flash movie, we have two more films before we even start like the new DC universe. So it's Shazam Fear of the Gods, then it goes into Flashpoint, then it's going to go into Blue Beetle, and then it's going to go into Aquaman 2. And I don't know. I was a little confused because I was like, wouldn't you save the Flash movie for last if everything's going to get rebooted? Because I don't know. It
that
just
makes
seems a
sense.
little odd that they did the Flashpoint movie in the middle when they still have two more movies they got to wrap up first.
Yeah, I think they just want to release that fucking movie. They're
Yeah,
just like, we gotta get this bitch out before he or they go and do something else, do more crimes.
yeah, and I guess because the Flashpoint movie being the second film, I guess the movie it's really gonna affect is the fourth movie, which is Aquaman 2, because the third movie or the next one right after Flashpoint is Blue Beetle, and that's a brand new like film, so they could easily say, oh yeah, this happened right after Flashpoint because there was no Blue Beetle before then, right, in the cinematic
Yeah,
universe, so that's fine. But to have Jason Momoa Aquaman 2, I'm just like, so is there going to be like an after credits where the universe changes or what? Because
they could always do play with time and be like, Blue Beetle movie comes out, it's in modern time, 2023. Then when the Flash movie comes out, this is like 2020, right before the pandemic, or there's so much of a gap between all these movies that they could just be like, this is a prequel. This takes place beforehand.
suppose so. It's just yeah.
kind of weird chronologically,
It
but
yeah that yeah, it's just weird because it's like all right, Flash is rebooting it, and then you're doing like two more after that. But I mean, whatever. They can easily make it make sense. I guess it's just I was just shocked that they decided to do it that way. Um, the Shazam Fury of the Gods, I feel just like the last movie, it's going to be like a standalone film, not really tied to anything. Um, we already know what the Flash movie is going to be, so no one cares. Everything's getting rebooted. Blue Beetle, I'm excited about because they've got Homeboy from Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. Did you know
yeah,
that? Yeah, the guy who plays Miguel Diaz. I think his name is Romario Zolo. Mar- oh my gosh, Melendez or something. Something. But yeah, the guy who plays Miguel Diaz.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm
Yeah,
actually really excited to see that. I didn't know that until recently.
yeah. I saw that they cast him as Blue Beetle, and they've got Susan Sarandon in the film, and they've got George Lopez in the film too. I think George Lopez is I think his uncle, but it's cool that they've got like a nice star cast in there. I'm excited about the Miguel Diaz character. Well, his name is going to be Jamie Reyes, but yeah, that guy's a good actor from Cobra Kai. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him do something. I don't really know anything about the Blue Beetle, so
Yeah,
uh,
it's a pretty basic concept. It's alien scarab from space. It attaches to his back, and it's talking to him and making him do stuff. But it essentially can form like this exoskeleton around him. So it's like this beetle armor where he can like fly around and shoot lasers and whatnot. The only thing is like once the scarab is attached to his back, it won't come off. It's like permanent. So
okay.
he's constantly having to fight with the scarab because the scarab like wants him to do stuff, and he's like, no, we don't do that here on Earth, and it's just like trying to force him to do stuff, and he's like, no, you got to listen to me. It's just a lot of back and forth.
That sounds like it could be a fun movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just because of the cast alone, I'm kind of stoked to see that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that'll be its own thing, and then after that, Aquaman 2, which I'm really trying to make sense of because they've already had a bunch of reshoots. I assume they've taken Amber Heard out of it. I'm not sure.
I think she's like barely in it. At least,
Well, because she was in it like more than she was the first film, and she had like a couple fight scenes, and I heard they cut those. So I guess she's still technically. I don't know if they're gonna like kill her off or something. I don't know, but I know for a fact they cut her fight scenes out. So I don't know if she's gonna be in it at all or if just like very very little. But I know they
yeah,
cut a lot of her stuff, which then like precedes the reshoots because it's like okay now they got to like fill the gap and make sense on what's going on now that they like took her out. I don't know. It's very strange.
yeah. I'm curious to see what they end up doing with that. I don't really know if I really care to see that movie. I don't really know what it's about though, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's a very confusing movie just because of where it falls. It's like it's literally the last DC film like before everybody gets cut. Even though we're gonna see everybody get cut in Flashpoint, so it's very strange.
It's so funny that none of those movies got a trilogy. They all ended at two movies.
Yeah,
They're like, that's good enough.
I mean, Man of Steel like didn't even get a second movie. I wouldn't really consider Batman versus Superman like a Man of
Yeah,
Steel 2 movie.
I wouldn't either. He wasn't even in it.
It was yeah, because it was it was like half and half. He was in it, and Ben Affleck was in it. It was it was like their combined movie, and it just wasn't good overall.
Well, he talked for like a total of like 10 minutes in that movie.
Well, when it comes to Henry Cavill, don't give him shit to do.
Yeah.
Why would you give a highly paid actor, highly trained actor who's very good at his job, any dialogue whatsoever?
Yeah. Stupid, really sad, but whatever. He's on to better stuff, hopefully.
Yeah, but that's essentially getting caught up to date with the James Gunn first half of the video. It's just like, all right, the current movies we got now, those are going to be DC Elseworlds. The last two or three movies that we're finishing off, Aquaman 2, Flashpoint, that's going to be it, obviously, for the DC Zack Snyderverse, if you want to call it that, because we're rebooting after that. And then he announced 10 projects that they're working on, I guess their roadmap. And he first started by saying that DC is going to call them chapters instead of phases because Marvel calls theirs phases. So, I mean, I guess for marketing purposes, you don't want people to get confused. So,
Sure.
Marvel's got phases and DC's got chapters. I don't know if anybody's going to care too much.
No, they're
Um,
gonna call this.
the first up is a animated TV show called Creature Commandos. It
Yeah,
literally just looks like a bunch of sci-fi monsters on a team. I don't know doing what.
yeah. I feel like that's just for James Gunn. Like no
Yeah,
one. That's not gonna be a start of any cinematic universe. I
yeah.
someone who loved the Guardians of the Galaxy before the movie. That I don't. I have no faith that an animated show about a bunch of monsters is going to do anything.
Now,
It might be good.
I do need to preface this. He did say the film, the TV, and the games are all going to tie into each other.
That's a bad idea, and I don't think that's going to work. Maybe the TV shows fine, but the games that's impossible.
I, they're going to try to do it somehow, and with the animated shows, I mean, I think the tie-in is just supposed to be the quote unquote crisis event, and I don't think they're actually going to do a crisis, but whatever big event they're leading up to, like Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, I think that's going to be the overarching theme with all of the shows and the movies. I don't know if they're actually going to like team up and cross over. I just think they're probably going to have like that overarching theme in the background of, hey, this is the event we're building up to. Because it would be weird to have like the animated TV show and then like the live action movie crossover. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like I'm sure it's a great idea, and you have to start somewhere. I just don't know if that's a good place to start, other than like just wanting to have that like as a passion project. But also, it just I don't know. It just all seems like like it's copying whatever Marvel's
Yes,
doing.
he is. It does look like he's copying the Kevin Feige approach of like taking the small, unimportant heroes and giving them a show. Just and I guess just see how it sticks.
Yeah, but you have like, I mean, so Marvel has their now Marvel specials like Wolf by Night or whatever the
Werewolf
hell.
by Night. If they do more of those,
Yeah, and those are like their essentially Elseworlds style things, and then they have the What If. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting step forward. That's not where I would have gone with it.
yeah, yeah. With Marvel in the Werewolf by Night, the that 1 hour long or 45-minute special about a character, Elsa Bloodstone. My personal opinion is they should do that with multiple characters and just see what the popularity is like
Yeah,
instead of
well,
doing like the 8 episode TV shows where people may not be interested in watching. That's my opinion. I think they could really do a lot more with just the one shot episodes and just see if people like it and then expand from there. But that's just my opinion. With
yeah.
DC, yeah,
Oh,
DC's not doing that. They're obviously going to do just like actual shows and they're just going to see what works. Starting off with Creature Commandos is fine because it's obviously it's nothing important. First of all, it's a TV show and it's a bunch of obscure characters nobody knows about, like Frankenstein and stuff. So
yeah,
you I don't feel like they can really go wrong with that. It's not really you're not going to expect much of it, which would
yeah,
be cool if it actually does well because then it'll surprise you. But I feel like everyone like watching Creature Commandos, they're going to be like, "What is this? Why is this important?" Probably not going to really care too much. But the second one after that is a live action TV show called Waller, which is obviously based on Amanda Waller, with Viola Davis, who does a really good job, in my opinion, of playing Amanda Waller.
yeah. I think that's going to be fun. Essentially, it's a stopgap way to continue the Peacemaker story without doing Peacemaker season 3 because he's doing Superman or
Yeah,
Superman. That was what he said.
yeah,
In the
because they said her and the members of Peacemaker. So I don't know if John Cena's Peacemaker is actually going to be teaming up with her, or if it's just like the side characters teaming up with her. I assume her daughter teaming up with her because she was on the Peacemaker team. I assume she'll be part of it.
yeah, I think that'll be good.
Yeah,
I'll tune in.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Because I like Viola Davis. I just don't know what the story would be, but apparently they're teaming up for something. And I guess it's the same with Creature Commandos. The monsters are teaming up to fight something. They weren't very specific. It's just, hey, here's what we're working on. And the third project in line will be the first major film in the DC universe, which is a smart play because the first film they're doing is Superman. It's called Superman Legacy. And naturally, if you're going to restart the whole universe, Superman would be the one you should start with. Like, he's essentially the big leader when it comes to superheroes. It wouldn't really make sense for you to like have him come in last, you know.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited to see what that is, and I hope he fights Brainiac.
yeah, well, and he's calling it Legacy, so I'm gonna assume it's gonna be a Superman that's already been around for a while, and maybe probably not an origin story,
Yeah,
since
well,
everybody
based
kind of
off,
knows the whole point. Everyone knows the Batman story. Everyone knows the Superman story.
yeah, well, it's based off of the Grant Morrison's run of Superman. I think the Man of Tomorrow. I think is what heard.
Well,
There's a couple of Grant Morrison references, like starting.
yeah, I haven't heard anything other than the fact that he's writing the script.
I also know Tom Taylor. So he has like it's like James Gunn and then Peter Safran, and then there's a bunch of other creatives that are like a part of like a cabal of people that are making these decisions. I know Tom Taylor is one of them, who is recently, or maybe not recently, become like really synonymous with writing extremely high quality Superman, Supergirl stories. So I think that that has a good shot of being good.
Yeah, and you know it's probably going to be their highest blockbuster movie because everyone is going to want to see when Superman finally hits the screen. They're going to want to see what that's like because it'll essentially set the precedent of the movies going forward. Because if you start off with the biggest superhero Superman and the movie's bad, it's going to turn people off from the future films of like the Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern if they make those movies. So you really don't want to fuck up on your first go. So
Yeah,
a lot of pressure on that movie because Superman is the hero. He's like the hero of all heroes. So
yeah.
hopefully that'll be good. The the fourth project they have after that is a live action HBO show called Lanterns, which I'm personally excited about because I love the Green Lanterns.
Yes, I think that's going to be good. I would prefer. I mean, they said they're going True Blood, or not True Blood, True Detective route on
Yeah,
Earth, which is
yeah,
interesting. I kind of wish it was in space, but I think it'll be good.
yeah. So it's going to be Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and I think they're trying to frame it like a buddy cop uh type of story.
They,
Um,
yeah, they said like a True Detective, like a crime noir, like a dark crime that they're trying to solve that
yeah,
reveals what's going on in the universe. Like,
yeah. There's a big mystery going on, and the mystery like ties into the big crisis event that's going to happen. I assume they're going to be the first ones to discover this big crisis event, and then I guess they're going to like inform everyone else going forward what's going on. But they're the ones who find it, which makes sense because it's not just Earth. They literally fly around space. So whatever this big mega event that's going to happen, they're going to somehow stumble across it.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm stoked to see that. I'm actually more stoked to see the cameos of other Green Lanterns that pop in during the series. Because there's some pretty cool Green Lanterns other than just Hal Jordan and John Stewart. But yeah, buddy cop, true detective. I I still don't know what the big event's going to be. I really don't want to keep saying crisis because I really don't know if it's going to be a crisis. But as with DC, like all of their big events tend to be crises.
yeah.
So it's just like that's kind of why I'm hoping it's not a crisis because I'm like, man, everything y'all do is a crisis. But hopefully it'll be something else that's like just as big.
Do you think they'll retry Darkseid?
I really hope they don't. And I say that because we already got a dark side with Zack Snyder that didn't pan out. So yes, they could do it correctly this time, but I'm just like, man, it's just if you want to kind of keep people fresh, just pick another story because everyone knows Darkseid is the big bad, Superman is the big good. We know this. Like, there's so many other things you guys could do, so many other villains you could use. I really hope they do something else because if they do Dark Side, it's going to be extremely predictable, and it's going to kind of take away the magic for me because I'm like, all right, we already know how this plays out. Boom tubes, parademons, defeated by Superman.
Um, I don't really know much about DC, so I don't really know what other big bad guys that they really have. You have like Thanos and Ultron and
Yeah, with Marvel, yeah, you got to.
yep,
And that's what's cool about Marvel. Their hierarchy of power is very clear. They have a bunch of like villains, and they have a lot of power levels too. Of what is it they call it in X-Men? They've got like Omega level and beyond Omega level, so it's just like it's very clear who can do what. And there's a
yeah,
lot of different stories in Marvel because of that. With DC, there's not that much. Like Darkseid is always the big bad. You have the Anti-Monitor. That's a pretty badass villain. They could use that. That kind
well,
of ties in the dark side a little bit, but yeah,
but yeah, that's a Crisis villain.
yeah. When it comes to scale, a universal scale. Yeah, Anti-Monitor, Dark Side. There's the Source Wall that they could do, which is like the edge of the universe where all of like the super broken OP people reside. Frozen in time. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I never really thought about it. There's really not like Batman, of course, and Superman have like a really awesome rogues gallery
hmm
and like a lot of heroes that have great villains in DC, but there's no like world threatening. There's not like we mentioned earlier, like a Thanos or Ultron where they like all rally together except for Darkseid, more or less.
yeah. Yeah.
Extra
Just to kind of go on a tangent. When it comes to like power levels or groups of heroes who work together, and it's very very limited in DC. So like when it comes to like the weakest teams, you've got like Teen Titans,
yeah,
teenagers with some have power, some don't, and they fight street crime. Cool. A step up from the Teen Titans would be the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They protect the entire planet from world-ending events, and then instead of having like a higher team than them, they just make that same team also fight like universal threats. And it's just like, okay, like, but if they're strong enough to protect the planet, how are they strong enough to protect the universe? You literally have like Batman and Wonder Woman in space, like helping the Green Lanterns. And it's just like, it's very hard to believe that. Whereas with Marvel, it's very, very cut and dry. They're like, all right, we've got like
street level.
we've got the Defenders. They do
Yeah.
the street level crime. We've got the Avengers. They do the world stuff. Then you've got like the what's the next team after that? Do what?
The Illuminati.
Not the Illuminati, and this might be too big of a jump, but you have the Annihilators. They're like galaxy broken, like Ron and the Accuser and Silver Surfer, like and not the Sentry, Hyperion, like the super broken power levels. They have their own team where they protect like the universe.
And
So
Guardian.
yeah, so you've got clear teams when it comes to power levels. And there's a bunch of them in Marvel, but yeah, DC is just like, all right, Teen Titans or Justice League. I mean, there's not really. I mean, there's some other teams, but they're all still like kind of street level.
Get a lot of like crossover between villains. So you have like Doctor Doom will fight everyone, or not just the Fantastic Four. He's fought Spider-Man and the Avengers or whatever. And
Yeah,
same with Thanos, or like there's a whole story where Ultron goes to space, or and he has a whole war with the Guardians, and that whole team of people has nothing to do with Captain America and
right.
Iron Man. And it's
Because
like
yeah,
it's not unusual to see those crossovers where it's like I'm trying to think, and
yeah,
the
it's
Justice League, or are they
because
gonna
like
bring
because the
the
power levels are just so vastly different. It's just like, and I guess in terms of DC, besides Justice League, you might consider the Quintessence. They like kind of watch over the whole universe, but they don't actually go out on like adventures. It's like Ganthet and Spectre and Phantom Stranger, and they're just watching over the universe because they're quote unquote OP broken. You could
yeah?
argue, but they don't actually go out and like do stuff. So it still always falls on the Justice League. Um,
You could have the demon from Raven's dad. I forgot his name.
Trigun, yeah.
But I feel like
Trigun is like an otherworldly. He's not even in this dimension. But then again, that equivalent would be like Dormammu or somebody in Marvel in their own pocket dimension. Sidorak,
yeah, and
these
that would be
broke ass people that stay in their own dimension.
you don't really want to see Superman fight him, Trigon. You want to see
It wouldn't even be a fight. He couldn't even do anything to him.
yeah.
Like literally, the only person who's able to hang with Trigun would probably be Darkseid, and even then, that's like, ah. Honestly, I would say Trigun beats just regular Darkseid because obviously Darkseid is just an avatar of his true self. We've never seen true form Darkseid. Supposedly, true form Darkseid could probably hang with Trigun because they're both like otherworldly beings. Their powers exist outside of the multiverse, which is why it's weird to see Justice League doing everything. I'm just like, all right, come on. But yeah, we could actually have a whole separate podcast on power levels in Marvel
Yeah.
because there's just so many OP broken characters. I mean,
Yeah.
just think about this. When it comes to Earth, just the X-Men team alone has more broken OP reality warping universal destroying people on just the X-Men, let alone all the other superheroes running around the Earth. There's like you can't really name a bunch of people in DC who has the ability to like blow up the world with a thought. Maybe Ganthet, but he's not even on Earth. He's a freaking Guardian. There's not many world breaking, universe bending people.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marvel has a shit ton of them. So many people can just like destroy the universe.
Yeah. They could do so I'm looking now at like a list of villains, and the first 25
DC or
were
Marvel.
DC. They were all Batman villains, like the first
And those are like, you know, Earth.
Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are Earth street level.
So we got Lex Luthor. He could be a global threat for
Yes,
sure.
because he's smart.
Brainiac, Doomsday, uh,
Doomsday could
Dark
destroy the Earth.
Mongol.
Brainiac could actually take over a galaxy because he's a flying robot in space.
You got Mongol, which I've heard that's a pretty big one.
He has Battle World, so he's got like a little mini planet where he can just like go fight and blow stuff up.
And then you get Parasite, General Zod, Lobo, Ultra Humanite.
Yeah, none of those people can blow up a planet.
Yeah, Gorilla Grodd.
Oh.
Maybe they'll lead into what's the villain Justice League? I forgot what their name is.
um,
There was like
Justice Incarnate, I think.
yeah, they did like that whole episode of the TV show back in the day where they had them all create like their own Justice League.
Yeah.
But yeah, man,
Yeah,
there's no like crossover villains, like villains where you would need a crossover to defeat. These are all like individual
yeah, and it's
villains.
yeah, the power levels are just like not even fair when it comes to DC and Marvel because DC they're very scaled back, and just like you read on the list, it's mostly like Earth threatening people, and then from there it goes down to like city threatening people, like nothing universal besides like Anti-Monitor.
It's interesting because like DC has always had or positioned their heroes as like gods among men. So
Men of
whereas
Earth, yes.
you have like DC heroes having or Marvel heroes being like these are street level people, they're just normal people that have their own problems and they're fighting like Thanos and galactic people. And then you have gods among men and they're fighting like just random ass Johnny Quick and Owlman and just like
Yeah, it's
like essentially these are like golden age, silver age characters that are still around. They've never created any like actual threats for gods. They're just like random people.
yeah. Like if I had to sit here and make a list of like broke, overpowered, like universal threat type heroes or characters, I could sit here and try to come up with a top 10 list for DC. It would take me a minute, but I could do it. With Marvel, I could probably list 30, like just as fast. There's so many broken characters in Marvel. DC is very limited.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I
I
mean,
feel like
yeah,
that's an uphill battle for the movies then, if there's really not a whole lot to cross over or make the big event stories. You have to do either Anti-Monitor or Darkseid or the League of Extraordinary Assholes or whatever
assholes.
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I even probably suggested Black Lanterns, but I feel like that'd be too much to explain for this first chapter, because then they would have to introduce all the other colors, right? So they couldn't really do a Black Lantern crisis event. Not yet. It's too early. So it's very limited on what they could do.
And they have to do I mean it has to tie in with like DC or not DC, Green Lantern, so I feel like it has to be space related.
If it's a crisis event, it's going to be space related.
Yeah. So I've pulled up another list of strongest supervillains in history ranked.
Just
And
like
so
of all comics or just DC or Marvel.
but all comics. So number 1 is Galactus. I can't wait to see Galactus on the screen.
He's not the strongest, but okay, yeah, he's up there.
And then you got Anti-Monitor, Trigon,
Mm-hmm.
Mephisto, which is Marvel,
Yep.
Darkseid, DC, and then like some Image, Lady Death, Brainiac, Doomsday, Thanos, Suitor, Hela,
Surtur and yeah.
General Zod. So essentially, this repeating the same DC villains that we've already named.
Is that now? You said that was a comprehensive list of like all characters.
No, it's just a dumb list
I was
of
about to
live.
say because that list like didn't even come close to some of the broken characters I could list. Didn't even
Yeah,
come close.
absolutely not. I was just looking to see like what the more powerful, most powerful DC villains would be,
Oh yeah,
as
there's
and
yeah.
the powerful Marvel ones.
DC villains. I would say Necron, Anti Monitor. Um,
Super
what was that guy's name? He was
Yeah,
the original Monitor. I forgot his name. God dang it. He looks like a vampire. He's like a vampire Monitor. There's him. There's Barbados.
they already did that. I don't know. There's just a lot more interesting characters and variety of characters with the Marvel lineup. They
Which
definitely,
which is why making Marvel movies is so easy because there's so many freaking characters to pick from.
yeah. And there's all the villains are dynamic and can be threatening if they're done right.
Yeah,
Where like you could even make the Hulk a villain. They almost did it in the original Avengers movie, you know, and just be like, all right, now he's super angry World War Hulk. Boom, you're.
that's so wild. Like literally, Hulk's power level can be street level, Earth level, and debatable galactic level, depending on how mad he can get.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could do Parallax, I guess, but I feel like you'd want to save that for a DC movie. There's nothing. They're fucked.
Yeah, it's just yeah, they're very limited with their like universal threats. Superboy Prime would be one I would love to see. I think that'd be like a big
But that's another one tied to Crisis.
yes, that's
That's all I'm saying.
yeah, it's
It's either
yeah.
Crisis or Doomsday again. Pick one.
Yeah. But yeah, that's we went off on a little tangent, but that's that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Lanterns live action HBO show where they discover whatever big crest event is going to happen. So looking forward to that. Hopefully, the Green Lanterns CGI doesn't look stupid like in the Ryan Reynolds movie that they did, because that
Yeah.
was horrible.
Yeah. I think it'll be. I think they learned their lessons from that.
I mean,
I,
they make literal light constructs, and in that Ryan Reynolds movie, it was all like smoke. It was smoke constructs, and I was like, why is there smoke everywhere? Their power is literally light. Where's the smoke coming from?
yeah. I don't really remember much from that movie.
Because that's how bad it was. Like these are supposed to be light constructs. Anyway, that's whatever. Um, but here's a cool one. After that, we're getting the next big budget film, which will technically be after Superman, the Authority.
Yeah, that's cool. That I don't
Yeah,
know anything about any of those characters, so
yeah. The characters from Wildstorm comics, man.
I feel like that's another James Gunn one for me, one for you sort of thing. He's like, I'll make Superman, but I want an animated cartoon about Frankenstein, and I want the Authority.
Bro, stop.
Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh yeah. Um, what's cool about the Authority, and this is like the quickest way I could sum it up, is just think of them like the boys from Amazon Prime or the comics.
Yeah,
They're literally a group of superheroes who will do whatever it takes to win, and they don't care about killing people.
yeah.
So I imagine that's going to be really fun for him to make.
I imagine so, but I'm also that's like the last 8 movies he's done. Uh, so
What, killing people?
we already have the boys, which has done that. You had the Suicide Squad 1, the Suicide Squad 2. Then he did the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a bunch of ragtag people.
Guardians of the
I
Galaxy
mean,
don't kill though, and they're fighting like alien
they
monsters.
they definitely kill people. They don't care. And then you have his other movie, Super, about a superhero who is morally gray that killed people. Then you have, yeah, it just seems like that's like his. It's a
Are
one.
you talking about Brightburn?
I was talking about Super.
Super. Which one was that one?
It's with Rainn Wilson, and he's like, "Shut up."
Oh, that's old. Man, that's old. That
Yeah,
wasn't even
it just
superpowers. That was just dudes dressing up, getting beat up in in the street.
I'm just saying, it seems like the entire uh, universe in the universe of comic book movies. How many times have we gotten, you know, a superhero group of people that don't care about killing people? Like they're morally gray. It's been done so many times by now. It's like, and James Gunn has even done it with Suicide Squad or something like that. There's really not a whole lot of different, you know. I'm not. I'm excited to see what he turns that into. Maybe I'm sure it'll be good, but like, how many times are you going to hear that story? Like, we already have the boys, we have the Doom Patrol, like more. The was it Umbrella Academy? We have like 8 different versions of the same story already. Just do something else.
Well, if you think everyone's watching all of those, I guarantee no one's watching all of those.
Yeah, but I mean,
The
he did.
boys, I know people are watching, but to think that the same people watch also everything else, compared to the watered down superhero shows that we already have, majority of them don't kill people. There's only a few of them that do that killing. And Super is like 20 years old. That's not even a running show.
Like the
But
Watchmen. Also,
yeah,
there's a
well,
Watchmen show. There's a Watchmen movie. It just literally the last movie James Gunn made, other than Guardians, was Peacemaker and
the
Suicide
Suicide
Squad.
Squad,
It
yeah.
does. People kill people. There's superheroes that are morally gray, kill people. Technically
Personally,
they're
yeah.
criminals, but the same shit.
Personally, I enjoy those because it is very different from just the bread and butter superhero where everybody saves the day. And that's literally like one of the biggest points of Invincible. The
Yeah,
It's just like you can't save everybody even if you try. Buildings are falling, people are getting crushed by debris. Like makes it very realistic. So it works for me.
yeah. It's
So I'm
just
curious to see how the Authority plays out because I that does not bother me at all.
yeah. We'll see.
Um, the next one is Paradise Lost, live action TV show with the Amazons.
Don't care. Mm,
Can you be specific why you don't care?
I don't care.
Don't care. Bro, that could be really awesome. They said they're going to try to do a Game of Thrones type feel to it.
Yeah, everyone says they have a Game of Thrones type feel.
But again, with all of these, everything that he's listing in this roadmap, he's not being very specific. It's just, which I guess is fine. It's just like, hey, here's the stuff we're working on. Look out for it. So we're kind of like having to like use our imagination and assume what direction
Yeah,
they're going to go.
it could be good. I don't
Yeah,
care.
we'll see.
I mean,
Um,
the guy who made the Castlevania animated show said he wanted it to have a Game of Thrones thing to it. Succession is just rich people Game of Thrones. Everything Game of Thrones. That
uh,
was the thing. So everyone refers to their shit as Game of Thrones. I don't care. Just make it good and I'll watch it. I
Yeah.
like mythology. That's cool. I don't really. An Island of Amazons sounds dope to me, but I don't know about watching a show about it.
Yeah, I mean, the only saving grace with the whole Game of Thrones argument with the Amazons and Themyscira is they actually have like, stone temples with horses and swords and shields. They don't, have fancy technology and jets and stuff, but
Honestly,
I
I
guess we'll
would
see.
love it more if it had nothing to do with the DC universe. It was just like a Greek mythology style story about an island of Amazons, doing a Game of Thrones story, but there's also like fantasy of like the Greek gods and stuff. I would watch that. But if they're gonna, talk about the anti-monitor, I don't want to watch that. I don't care.
Well, after that, the next big budget film, which is, I guess, the third film. So we've got Superman, we've got The Authority. Next one is, of course, going to be my favorite, Batman the Brave and the Bold.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So this will be the first time people get to see a live action version of Damian, the current Robin. And for everybody who knows about Damian, that specific Robin, they love him. They're just like, man, finally getting away from Dick Grayson and Tim Drake, like, because Damian is a very unique Robin.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm contrarian. I bought the issue where they with Damien, one of the issues with Damien where I guess I don't want to spoil it, but it's like several years old, where he dies at one point. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was never a big fan of Damien. I actually kind of am disappointed. I wish that they had the story of the other Robins first, but I get why they would want to just skip to Damien because he is like a crowd favorite and he's more.
Yeah, and there's already been a bunch of shows with the other Robins. Like, there's literally not a show with Damian. It's always about Nightwing and stuff, or Dick
Yeah,
Grayson.
I think it could be good, and the dynamics there are a little more interesting than
Yeah.
random I
I
found.
I personally was never much of a fan of Damien. He was just kind of hit or miss with me, but yeah, he's just because he's so starkly different from the other Robins. He's an assassin. He kills people. He's a little asshole. He's a smartass, and he doesn't follow orders. He does what he wants. So it's just like, all right, but I get some people like that though.
It just
So
seems like they're skipping a lot of Batman history to get to that one point, unless they like warp the history and like, well, he always knew, he had his son and all this stuff happened. Like I don't know why they have to do that. With the DC, they feel like they have to skip a bunch of history or like we can't tell the origin story. We got to start halfway through their life where they're old and I don't know. It's like they
uh,
want a young they want a young Batman so they can do a bunch of movies, but then he has a son and three other Robins and a Bat family. It's like, well, can we tell those stories like first, or at least get an idea of how they came together? I don't
they'll
know.
probably throw him in there. I mean, because you could, like I said, you can only do the origin of Batman Superman so many times, and it's just like, all right, even if the previous movies weren't good with Zack Snyder, it's like they've been done to death. It's like
Yeah,
we all know the story. Let's kind of skip ahead a little bit and get to some real like decent stories about their lives, their characters, instead of just like, oh my god, parents dead. Okay, planet blew up. It's like we know this. We know
yeah.
it's been done to death.
I'm not saying we need an origin, but it would be nice to have an origin for like Robin 2, Robin 1, Batgirl, those sort of things.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. I'm sure it'll be good. I don't have any. I'll definitely go watch that. It's Batman. I mean, how could
Yeah.
you not?
After that, we're getting a live action Booster Gold show. And I don't know if you've ever cared too much about Booster Gold. I never really cared much about him, but again, smaller character, definitely gonna have to be a comedy show because he's an idiot.
Yeah, I liked him in the animated show. I We'll see. This just strikes me of like they're trying to do a Deadpool or another Shazam, just like I'm not a big fan of DC anyway, so this is
Well,
just
yeah, he's literally written to be a comical character because like, and he relates to us a lot because if we were in his position, we would probably do the same thing. If we had access to advanced technology, we would probably take it, go back in time, and make ourselves rich. It's literally
Yeah,
what he's gonna do.
I don't know if that's what I would start with, but
What I'm start with.
I guess I understand that they also have, they just had a bunch of characters come out with movies, so they can't be like, well, here's another reboot of Aquaman or whatever, and like uh, technically this is only the first half of the first chapter, so there could be more stuff coming down the pike. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I would have rather seen a Lobo movie or a standalone Doctor Fate movie with Pierce Brosnan or a Constantine movie.
I mean, we're
Uh,
still getting another Constantine movie.
yeah, we are, aren't we?
And
Uh,
they still could do a Lobo movie because all of these movies and shows, they're just like part of the first chapter apparently. So apparently there's still more to come.
yeah, give me a Teen Titan movie, a Black Canary movie. All of those characters I would prefer to see first. But whatever, it'll be good. The Huntress, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
after Booster Gold, we're getting the next big film, which I guess is film number 4. Is that what we're on? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
I think that's going to be good. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
I think that's based off of Tom Taylor,
Or Tom King's.
Tom King. Yeah,
Yeah. Where it's a more mature Kara Zor-El instead of like the happy-go-lucky teenage girl she used to be. It's like, all right, she just turned 21. She literally goes to another planet to a bar to drink and get drunk and goes on an adventure from there. And she starts seeing some real shit. People start dying. I don't think it's going to be dark and depressing like a Zack Snyder film, but it is supposed to be more of a mature take on her character.
I'm excited for that. I think that's going to be really good.
Yeah,
I haven't read that issue, and that when I saw that one, I was like, this is honestly the most exciting out of the entire slate for me.
the
And
Supergirl one.
yeah, and I am like, I'm gonna read that. I might read that comic book just because.
Yeah, just to again, yeah, put her in a more mature element. Because she's tired of living in Superman's shadow, so she like doesn't really know where she fits in because everyone keeps comparing her to Clark, which sucks. It's like I'm my own person, but y'all keep comparing me to Superman, so it's like really making it hard to like socialize.
Hmm.
And then the last thing we're getting is a big film. So I guess number 5, Swamp Thing, which I'm pretty stoked about
Yeah, I think that will be cool. Why did they cancel the TV show though? That
because the two directors could not decide on how they wanted to end it, and they got into an argument. And because they couldn't agree on how they wanted on which direction they wanted to take the show, they just canceled it.
even
Which is
though,
so stupid. I'm like, y'all didn't work this out before y'all started making the show because it's like 10 episodes deep, and before they even finish it, before they even have a season finale, they just canceled it because they
yeah,
couldn't agree. And I'm like, how is this not worked out beforehand?
did it never come out at all?
The
Like
season
this?
finale?
Yeah.
No, it just stopped at 10. So it didn't even finish the first season. That's why I never like watched it cuz I was like, are you kidding me? I'm going to get super invested into this awesome show, and then by episode 10, it's going to be like left open because they never got to film a season finale.
I heard it was good too.
Yeah, it apparently was very good, which makes it even more infuriating that they canceled it just because they couldn't agree on how to end the show or whatever, set it up for the next season.
Yeah, you would think James Wan or whoever produced it would just be like, all right, let me just step in here. I'm gonna finish this up.
I heard a similar story about the Batman Beyond cartoon show. I heard that the two guys like making the show like kind of got into it on the direction they wanted the show to go, which is kind of why they canceled that show too.
Interesting.
And I'm like, how do y'all not agree on where uh, you start
Yeah,
off with a great story, and then when it starts coming to the end or the next phase, y'all just like don't agree, and then it's just everyone else is screwed because of it. I don't get that.
yeah. I don't know. It could be good. I think seeing the Swamp Thing live action is going to be good if they give it the proper horror aspects that it needs. I don't know if they're going to do a trilogy with that, also doesn't seem like the movies that he's picking are trilogy type of movies. They're like one-offs almost.
It
Like,
depends on how the films are received.
yeah, but
Because this whole lineup is just like a bunch of random characters, with the exception of Batman and Superman.
yeah.
Everything else is, which I kind of get. They're trying to test out the waters of these smaller characters to kind of see how people react going forward.
Yeah.
But
It would have
yeah,
been good to
we'll
see
see.
Justice League Dark. Give Del Toro his Justice League Dark movie. That'd be
Now, the Swamp Thing is going to be a dark horror origin story, so it sounds like they're going to keep it the way the show was. So it sounds like it's in good hands, at least in theory.
yeah, that's good. I'll probably keep my eye on. I love horror, so that's also definitely interesting. It's just a bummer because it's been done a couple of times already, so it kind of kills the hype for me a little bit. But I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just happy that we finally got a roadmap. So now we at least know what to expect going forward. Um, the list is a little strange, but I just keep comparing it to Kevin Feige. I'm like, well, he picked like small characters and kind of rolled
Well,
with it, with the
pick
exception of the Avengers, of course, because those are like the big five that they each got their own movie.
yeah, I mean he started with well known. I mean Iron Man obviously wasn't like a total A-lister, but
Yeah, he was
not
like a C
totally.
character.
I don't know if he was a C character, but I mean,
He,
yeah, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, like he picked the Avengers and he started with the Avengers.
yeah, I'm about to
So
say
it's
because
not like he started.
yeah,
That,
at the time when they made the first Iron Man movie, the Iron Man comics were dog shit at the time. So he was definitely not popular in any way when they made that first movie. But because that first movie did so well, here we are now.
yeah,
But his comics were doing very bad at the time, so it's just like no one really cared about Iron Man at all.
yeah, I don't know. I think there's a stark difference between picking the core Avengers, even though they're not A-listers, but they do build up to the Avengers. It's like
Hmm.
making a Power Rangers movie, but then doing like a Blue Ranger movie and
Yeah,
a White Ranger movie. It's like, yeah, if you do the individual movies, like maybe people don't know who the Blue Ranger is, but they do know who the Green Ranger is and the Red Ranger and the Pink Ranger. And when you put them together, it's the Power Rangers, and they know who that is. Where it's like, okay, you got Booster Gold. No one knows who the fuck that is. Is he going to be an Avenger? I don't think I've ever heard
or
of him.
Justice League, no.
Or, no, yeah,
Neither with Amanda Waller. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like at least Kevin Feige picked characters that would build into a event team that everybody knows who the Avengers were, whether or not they knew who what's his name is Iron Man. I don't know. It's a peculiar list, but
yeah,
I'm
it is. It was smart for Kevin Feige to do that first phase the way he did, because it's at the time I assumed he didn't know that there were going to be future phases. He didn't know he was going to be like the face of the company. So he's like, hey, if y'all are going to give me 4 or 5 movies to work on, I'm just going to do a story that leads up to the Avengers. And it could have ended with the Avengers. That could have been it. That could have been all we got from Marvel, and that would have been perfect because it was a nice build up. But obviously, because it was so successful, he had to keep the ball rolling. So it's like, okay, well, let's go even further. Let's get Thanos involved. It yeah, because there was no guarantee those movies were going to be successful and leading to this whole multiverse that we have now. But it was cool the way he did it. Yeah,
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I will watch some of these movies and TV shows unless
yeah.
they're
Personally, I'm just curious on what the big event is. That's really my only concern of like starting these shows when they come out. I guess in a couple years is what big event are we going to be leading to? Because if it's Dark Side, I'm probably not going to be super interested personally. But I mean, like we discussed earlier, what else are they going to do?
yeah. I mean, and they could do Crisis, but then it's like, where do you go from there? Get back
Yeah,
to Dark Side. I'm like, okay,
yeah, because the whole point of a crisis is to condense the universe. That's how it is in the comics. But now it's like the opposite because we got the Flashpoint movie that's literally doing that. The Flashpoint is going to get rid of all the other Snyder movies, start the universe fresh. So for them to immediately go into a crisis would be kind of counterintuitive because it's like, okay, well, are we going to expand the universe even more? Or are we going to condense it even more? Because we just got a big reboot. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it would be a good way to give the closure to Snyder Cut people. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know where they would go from there.
Well, shoot. There were a couple of other topics I wanted to touch on, but we've already like hit an hour. So
Yeah, sorry about that.
well, I mean, when it comes to comics or nerdy stuff, we can kind of go on a tangent.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of opinions about DC, and I don't. That doesn't help, I'm sure.
I mean, it is what it is. It's not like it's false. Like these are some pretty strong opinions slash facts we have about DC and Marvel. But I don't know. Maybe we can go more in depth next week, or go into the power levels next week because that's like that could be a whole podcast itself. But like I said, it's not really a fair comparison because Marvel just has so many.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do some research too. I'd like to see like what's comparative in both of those universes, just to
Yeah.
see.
Other than like the Superman, Hyperion, Deadpool, oh my god.
Ozymandias.
No, Deadpool and oh my god, Deathstroke. God dang. Yeah, other than the literal comparisons of, you know, people that they copied, the power level's just not even a contest.
Yeah.
But whatevs. Um, Brylan, you got any parting words for the folks at home?
No,
He's like, go away. Get out of here.
nothing for you.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in again for another Humans Talking podcast. Yeah, this whole episode was literally just about DC gods and monsters. That's the name of this chapter one James Gunn is doing, gods and monsters.
Very exciting.
But yeah, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and leave some dialogue in the comments below if there's some topics you want us to talk about next time. But I guess we'll just leave it at that. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.